Now a story we've been following for months, a major glitch in the system that is supposed to keep the airlines and us safe. Those long lines we all know so well are actually the least of it. The worst is when your name ends up on the government's so-called terror watch list by mistake. That is when life really becomes miserable. Since our investigative reporter Drew Griffin first reported on his own problems with the list, dozens of viewers have written to tell us their stories, and you are about to meet three of them. They share a name and a place on what seems to be the list of no escape. Keeping them honest, here is CNN Special Investigations Unit correspondent Drew Griffin.
Looking for terrorists? Meet the Robinsons. James, the former Assistant U.S. Attorney General and Washington lawyer, on the terror watch list.
For years now.
This James Robinson is a retired Air National Guard Brigadier General. He still flies as a pilot for a major airline and, get this, is licensed by the TSA to carry a gun in the cockpit. But he's not allowed to check his luggage at the curb.
They've got these two lists that aren't talking to each other. I'm carrying a weapon, flying a multi-million-dollar jet with passengers, but I'm still screened as, on the terrorist watch list.
And this James Robinson is, well, James Robinson, the third grader.
Are you a terrorist?
I don't know.
Don't laugh. Apparently, James' government still doesn't know either, because for the last 3 years, every time he goes to the airport with his family, James is singled out as a potential terror suspect.
Do you feel like anybody in government cares about you?
No.
It all started about the same time for all three of our James Robinsons. The Robinsons of California were heading to New York, dropped off at the curb to check in, and
all of a sudden we were told, no, you can't check in at curbside.
At the ticket counter, mass confusion, lots of phone calls, and a ticket agent who kept asking the same question.
So then all of a sudden he goes, how old is he? And I said, he's 5. He's on the phone, he's 5. So, we were like, what is going on? And so he hung up and he said, I can't tell you anything, but he said, I'm going to print out some information for you, and I'll give it to you, and you just do what is on this information that I'm going to give you.
The information was on how to contact the TSA to get off a terror watch list, which, according to the head of Homeland Security, should be very easy.
There's actually a simple solution to this. If you can get from the innocent John Smiths their date of birth or some other additional unique identifying fact, you can put that into the system, and then when they present identification, they're immediately taken out of the system.
Here's the problem. Every one of these James Robinsons did exactly that 3 years ago. Like me, they followed the procedure, sending passports, date of birth information. The older Jims sent in driver's license and voter registration cards, but all of us are still on it. Captain James Robinson suspects he and the 8-year-old James and the attorney James will never get off.
There's going to come a point in time where everybody's going to be on the watch list.
Now the twist, which won't make you feel any better about security.
This continues to happen.
Yes. Yes.
And what do you do?
Well, I found ways around it.
Tip a skycap, she says, the watch list disappears.
And they'll take it straight to the ticket agent, and they'll, do whatever they need to do, and he comes back and they'll say, here's your boarding pass.
Denise has also booked James as J. Pierce and avoided the list. Captain James says Jim Robinson or J.K. Robinson are not on the list. I myself have placed my first and middle name together as one and avoided the hassle.
The fact that I can go to the skycap and I can get on pretty easily, and the fact that I can change his name, it just means that it's far from being an airtight system.
January 2009 is when the TSA is expected to roll out its next possible solution, the Secure Flight Program. Maybe then the attorney James, the Captain James, and the 8-year-old James will no longer be considered the terrorist James, whoever that is.
So, Drew, if it is so easy to beat the system, what good is it?
Very, very good question. But the Department of Homeland Security says, insists really, Campbell, that despite these minor glitches, this process, this watch list, is keeping terrorists off of flights. It is working. That's what they say. But as we've pointed out, an 8-year-old can beat the system. That's one thing. But, Campbell, when a news reporter can beat the system, we might have some problems here.
All right, Drew Griffin for us, as always. Drew, thanks. Yep. And Drew's investigation isn't over. He is keeping a close eye on this story and the list that is causing so many law-abiding people so many problems.